Hey, Dr. Kimberly, it says we're live
What?
in one of the corners.
Oh my goodness, what you say now? Good afternoon. I am Dr. Kimberly Barrington, and this is Pastor Dave.
I look very pastoral. Wait a minute. You can continue. I'm looking very pastoral today. I'm just going to take a post-it note here. And I'm sorry. We're going to get serious here in a minute, folks.
We are. And we want to say first, thank you to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. We greatly appreciate you. Today is Thursday, July 5th. And can you believe it? On Monday, July 5th, we will have had our own page for 1 year as Rolling on the Road.
I first want to check though. I think you're lying when you say it's July. I think isn't it April still?
No, sir. No, sir. It is not.
July.
I mean, we have been working and moving so quickly. Isn't that crazy? But July 5th of 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, we actually started May 7th. And by July 5th, you guys liked us so much that we had to create our own page for Rolling on the Road. And we went from 1 show to 3 shows a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have been probably more than 25 states, more than 60 cities. And according to Facebook, from July 5th of 2020 to December 31, it says that we had more than 31,000 views of our show. And we had more than 49,125 people that we reached. Can you believe that?
I can't believe it, Dr. Kimberly. I'm only going to say because you keep finding awesome guests and bringing on, I believe, and again, I'm not a very detached critic, but I'm still going to be a critic, that we have a great balance of laughter. And Tuesday's show was heavy, deep, and real, talking about that tragic situation. I'm always remembering the show we had with Kevin Matthews, who, folks, if you've never heard Kevin Matthews, he is a wild and wacky, zany radio personality, voted top 50 in the US all-time radio personalities.
Yeah.
And he and Dr. Kimberly had a show that everybody was in tears, not from laughter, but the seriousness and the race issues in our country, that the reality that we can't hide from. And it's just like, so folks, that's why you keep coming back. That's why we keep coming back, because I think we reflect life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we have hope, and we work for a better tomorrow and a better today. So I'm going to be quiet and leave it there, because I know you bring in another awesome guest with us today.
You know what? I am. And I think that was such an awesome segue to bring in Dr. Sharon Brady Bland, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Project Manager for Disability Determined Services with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and Social Security. Wow. Dr. Bland, what an honor it is for us to have you on the show today. And I mean, just to get you so quickly, we kind of moved another guest when she said, oh, I could do it today. So I apologize to the guest that was supposed to be on today, because we're booked out about 2 to 3 weeks. And so I do apologize for the guest that was supposed to be here today. But when she said that she could make room in her schedule to come and it could be today, definitely had to do that. What an honor, what a privilege to have you And we're just like, ah, yeah. And rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave, we welcome you and your expertise on today.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much with that great opening statement. My face has been fixated on laughter right now, and just the joy of how you just embrace everyone with dignity and respect. So we're starting off there. And so I am Dr. Sharon Bland-Brady, and I work for the Social Security Disability Program as a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. I also sit on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Council for MDHHS, and also a co-lead for our Leadership Action Team with MDHHS, and on our Service Delivery Team as a member for MDHHS. So lots of involvement in every aspect. I work for Social Security Disability, which is on the federal side. And we have 4 area offices in Lansing, Kalamazoo, Traverse City, and Detroit. We have actually 5 offices, and there's 2 that sit in our Lansing office, and that's our administrative support area. So I just want to say that we service about 700 people.
Wow.
The state of Michigan, as far as employees are concerned. And I'm responsible trying to reach out to each of these offices to create an environment and embrace an environment on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I've been doing this now for about a couple of years, and actually been involved in this work for over 26 years since I started here. So this is what I love doing. We adjudicate claims. I also am a manager over a unit. So they do disability claims, Title 16, Title II claims, and we also do continuing disability review claims, that where a person is already getting a paycheck from Social Security for a disabled person. And so then when there's time for them to come back for a review, that's what a continuing disability review is. We also do a reconsideration claims where it might have been denied before and it's coming back for a second look by a different examiner and a different doctor. And then we're looking at that case with a brand new set of eyes to make sure that we are being fair and equitable to our clients in the community. We're trying to make sure we are providing services to the clients of our population, So with that being said, is there anything you would like for me to tell? I will share the story that how I met Dr. Barrington and the first.
We're gonna hold off on that.
Okay.
First,
Okay.
we want to say hello to Breon Edwards. She is coming to us from Detroit, Michigan. She actually interned with us for almost 5 months. So it was awesome. And we're really excited. We were able to help her get so many different things done through Disability Advocates of Kent County and 100 Shades of Disabilities. Actually, one of our guests said that they had jobs available and immediately considered 100 Shades of Disability, because part of our mission is to improve the quality of life for persons with disabilities economically, legislatively, through community partnerships and education. And so what an awesome opportunity through our economic empowerment piece to be able to connect Breon for a job. So I'm really excited about that. We want to say hello to Naomi Mimi Gonzalez, who was yesterday's guest, and she's all the way in Pennsylvania. So she's watching today. We touched on, which is a great segue to touch on what she talked about on yesterday, are persons with disabilities who may have addiction issues, and how going into maybe a rehab facility and or attending AA meetings may not be accessible for persons with disabilities. Isn't that wow? So we have the right person at the right time to be able to assist us. But now we want to take a station break. It is now the 4:15 hour. We want to say welcome. Thank you so much for rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. And thank you to the Deaf or Hard of Hearing for rolling with us for a year. On Monday, we will be celebrating our 1-year anniversary that we actually created a page and went live. We want to say thank you so much for tuning in with us. According to Facebook, from July 5th of 2020 until December 31, you guys watched more than 31,000 times Rolling on the Road, and we reached more than 49,133 people. Aren't we blessed and aren't we honored to be able to continue to serve you for another year? We want to say thank you to Disability Advocates of Kent County and to 100 Shades of Disability, who has supported us through this whole process for us to do what it is that we do. And so, Dr. Bland, we do have, yes, disclaimer, we all wear just so many different hats, but today the hat is co-host with Dr. Kimberly, but on other days, Dave is the executive director of Disability Advocates of Kent County, where they service so many clients. I am one who received their services through the VA. So if you are a veteran and you have a disability, you can sign up for the peer support for veterans that they have at Disability Advocates of Kent County. There are different programs that you can access, but the one that I accessed with the peer support with Disability Advocates of Kent County is for independent living. As a person who had acquired a disability, I was no longer eligible for voc rehab services, which either provides you with training for a new job and or provides you with education. And of course, I was going for the educational piece and had a massive stroke, became a wheelchair user in 2013. And the VA said, okay, you're eligible for independent living services. And one of those is that we pair you with Disability Advocates of Kent County to teach you how to be disabled. Yeah.
And it worked.
It did.
We teach you how to be you, because that's what you do best. I'm gonna, Dr. Brady Bland, you had a question of us, if we had any questions of you. And I'm just thinking, Dr. Kimberly, I've never, pretended I was the executive director. And I think this show needs to be like a telethon. I think we're gonna go till midnight today because I've got lots of questions. But the one that comes to mind is, you've been doing this DEI work for 26 years. Have we moved the needle? Are we getting better?
Wow. It's interesting you bring that question up. We have a book club, and the book is stamped from the beginning, right? By Kennedy. And one of the questions was that W.E.B. Du Bois in 1989 was trying to think about the current situation there and how to advance this work. And it wasn't until 1961 that they actually moved the civil rights movement and approved it. But he was in Ghana, actually, and had been, his passport had been taken, but he passed away. And then that next year they passed the civil rights laws. So I wasn't born yet. Okay. So imagine I'm still having these civil rights conversations at the table with a group of dedicated, compassionate employees for disability and for the state of Michigan. And according to some people, no. And according to some, if I think about in 1961, would I had a PhD now? Probably not, if I would have been old enough to have one back then, right? Because that was rare. It's still kind of rare, it's only about 2% of the population in the world that has a PhD. That's just statistically saying. So I would say in some aspects, if when I was a little girl, I watched the different riots and things that took place, and heard about the Black Panthers and Martin Luther King, and just was asking my mom questions like, what is this all about? What's this movement? And she was a Black history major. And so I spent a lot of time talking to her and watching different shows like Archie Bunker, for one. And
Yes.
yeah, and trying to dismantle some of the systemic stuff that was going on some of these television shows. And so the answer is, it depends on who you're talking to. And if you look at it overall, as far as equality and equity, we saw during the pandemic, but the disparities that was across Michigan.
Yes.
Prior to that, the situations that has happened with the police brutality, why hasn't that improved over time? Why are we still addressing that issue? And what can we do to change that? And they think defunding it, the police department, is the right way to go when you really have to dismantle the entire department and start all over. Because if you recall, the reason for starting a police department back in 1800s, whatever, was for bounty hunters. And they were looking for people of color. And so has that perception changed much? Probably not, because people still, some of the police officers, not all of them, because we have some great police officers on the force, but the ones that do, they still think like, people have said that driving while Black, they've been stopped. And so why hasn't this changed over the course of the years? And we also want to just look at during the pandemic, we had so many people in Detroit area that didn't have food and proper health care and proper housing. And even with the recent flood, what areas flooded? Mostly downtown Detroit. And because of the infrastructure is very weak and it hasn't been upgraded to, handle large, quantities of rain like this. And so they're still existing, and we need to really, really zero in on how we can change that and make those changes happen sooner than later, right? And so it's a journey, and it's not going to happen overnight, and it hasn't happened overnight. And I'm just one person out here trying to make a difference. Yeah.
Well, let me interject by saying I think that there have been some systemic changes. And one of the things that I think that is important is, and Pastor Dave can attest to this, is power does what power is. And if you have the power to make the change and you don't, then you now become a part of that systemic disparity. But if you are in a leadership position, you have the power, and you have to be brave enough to be the one to make that change. And I think that's the piece that's missing, is that we have the people who are in power to do what power does, and that is to make, systemic changes. But what we need you to do is be brave about that. I thank God for the people who have been brave as it relates to me. I am African American, I am female, I am a Navy veteran, I'm an entrepreneur, and yet I have been able to obtain good housing. So I want to say thank you so much to RDI Builders. I want to say thank you to their realtors. I want to say thank you to the lenders. I'm in an area where there are number one, no persons of color. So to be a person of color, to have a disability that is quite visible, I have quite a few that are not. So in housing, somebody who had power was brave and made the difference. So that is good. It is changing. I want to say for the education system, it is good. It is changing. That, Kingdom University International said, yes, we'll accept you. And yes, we'll work with you. I was able to earn my second doctoral degree, and they did it in an emphasis. It's a theological degree with an emphasis in disability studies and universal access. So I want to say thank you so much to them. And I want to say thank you to you as well, because the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services held their first ever diversity, equity, and inclusion leadership conference with over 984 participants. And you had two African-American women, Dr. Caldoun. Many of you know her as the Deputy Health Director for the state of Michigan. You've seen her for a whole year next to the governor, giving instruction, leading us, guiding us through the worst pandemic ever. And you had her and you had myself. You had me to speak on accessibility and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I said, I think we need to change that word to diversability, because now, as we know, how many disparities in healthcare that have come up during this pandemic, the access to it for people of color, those who have low wages or are no insurance or underinsured, the things that they experience. But now, due to the coronavirus, we have now 35,000 new persons that have disabilities that are now going to be in the workforce because they have what they call long haul COVID.
Wow. I just want to say, Dr. Barrington, it took bravery for us to pull off that conference. And I thought of you when I first met you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I first met you, I was just grateful and thankful that my mother taught me manners and that I just respect people who do a great job. And even if they don't, that go up and acknowledge that to let them know that you value and care what they had to say.
Mm-hmm.
You did a conference for the Disability Summit. You had your crown on. You just looked so beautiful. And you spoke about at the end of the conference how some people looked at you and never said a word to you, never said thank you for your beautiful speech. I was able to get some information for my job to take back. And I wrote about you to my bosses when I got back. And I said, you touched my heart, because I'm just glad I was one of those people that went up to you before you had your speech, because there were so many people that hung their heads down and they could not show their face and give you the credit that you deserved. And you was just amazing to me. I was intrigued. And then when I did this conference, I said, I want to reach out to the community, the population that the state of Michigan serves, and ask you to come and tell your story. And you was amazing.
Thank you.
You told your story from your point of view as a person who's disabled, but has been able to move past some of the barriers, and how you became this way, and and how you can share how you were before you had this condition and how you feel now. And I want you to feel valued, cared for, treated with respect by everyone. And that's something that I live by just as a manager, as a person, as a mom, as a daughter, as a sister, you know what I'm saying? It's like, so you touch so many lives. You touch mine, and then you touch over 1,000 people the day you showed up. And when you showed up, you showed out. Yes. And I was so proud of you, and I was so proud to know you, your great accomplishments, and you don't let nothing stop you from what you want in life. And some people don't have that drive. Some people don't have that support. You and I, we've been very lucky. I live in a nice community too, and we've been very fortunate. I'm over here teared up too. And we have broken some of the systemic barriers that has held some of our people of color back and disadvantaged, right?
Yeah.
Woo! So this real talk.
Yeah, because
It
it's still happening though too, because it's it was a few years ago, but a friend or a person who became a friend moved into Grand Rapids as a professional. Her and her husband both, money was not the object or the barrier, and they were steered by their realtor. You don't want to live there, and kind of steered them to what's the Black part of town, or a community that it's like you don't want to be there. And it's like, people, if you're listening and you haven't had the advantages of Dr. Kimberly, Dr. Brady Blonde, you like the Fair Housing Center here in town, unfortunately, they continue this very day to get complaints about mistreatment, disparate treatment based on race, disability, familial status. So, again, it's awesome to hear great stories, reality of good things happening, and people who, to say deserve good things. And at the same time, as a community, too many of us put those barriers up on others.
Yes.
And so yeah, again, I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I'm simply a
No.
good balance, especially, yeah, keep working, identifying those barriers, and ask for help,
Right.
because that's the hard part. If you try to hit that barrier yourself, it's easier to be defeated, but we all get help.
Yeah.
I
And
think go ahead.
go ahead, Dr. Kimberly.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we have to reach back and give back to others. We're leaving a legacy for our children, our grandchildren, our friends' children, and everyone who is going to be around long after we're gone, right? Because this is about me or just you. It's about everyone, right?
Mhm.
And my saying is always, all lives matter. But however, we've been dealing with Black Lives Matter. We want to make sure that we include all lives should matter.
Yeah.
All. And then, and stand with solidarity all the way from the LGBTQIA community, the Asian culture, the Latino culture, the people of color, the Black culture, the white culture, all cultures, right? I mean, I can name them, and making sure that include disability and ageism, like you indicated, that those are the populations that they're at a disadvantage. Okay, I can really rant and rave about the whole system of how elderly people are mistreated in this country when it comes to medication and Social Security and being able to have the proper amount of money to live off of. They have to choose between food and getting their medication. Why on earth would we ever have to have the people who taught us most of the things that we know in life, that they're the ones that's being systematically hurt throughout this whole process, and our disabled population? And I do believe that, this is Disability Month, and we got to lift up and make sure every day we are treating everyone with the ability to have access to food, housing, education. I know the governor just passed a great bill for every child to have $8,700 to be able to be educated, not just certain places, right?
Mhm.
And so go ahead, Dr. Barrington. I'm sorry, I got on my soapbox there.
No, you are good. And I love the piece that you're saying that we need to turn around and we need to reach back. I think that, and you as well, Dave, Pastor Dave, when you said you got to be bold enough to ask for that help, because you will find someone like yourself, like a Dr. Brady, or a person like myself that assists. So I really want to give a shout out and kudos to Breon Edwards, who lives in Detroit. She was born with cerebral palsy and just has a tumultuous experience. One, with her family, number two, with the system, getting the things that she needs. And I appreciated even her mother. She said, my mom said to me the other day, we've been doing this. Breon, if she doesn't mind me telling, is 28 years old. She said, we have been dealing with the system. We have been, working with you. And since you've been connected to that doctor lady, it's like all of a sudden, all these systems are opened up to you and you're getting the things that you need and you're getting them immediately right now. And that is what I want to implore other leaders to do. Or even if you have an agency, you need to be bold enough to challenge the system. And that's where, with 100 Shades of Disability, shameless plug, is that we have these awesome community partners. And it's because, I had to tell a young lady the other day, I said, you're not ready to come on the show. And I said, because where you are right now, you haven't accepted and received, but I've had 30 years to trailblaze, push through so that you can have the services that you have now. When I was coming through the system, I started, in 1992 with the VA to get an accurate rating for what it is that I experienced while on active duty as a female veteran. Here it is in 2021. She can now just go in and get 100% rating. But it took me more than 20 years to get what I got. But I've only gotten what? No, actually, it's been more than 30. I'll be 55 in 17 days. Can you believe it? Woo! I was 17 years old when I joined, the United States military, joined the Navy. And I mean, I joined in 1984. The incident happened in 1992. I didn't get paid until 2013. And they didn't even take me back to 1992. They only went from like 2005. So there's still some, monies that's old. Yep. Great recompense. But what they did give from 2005 to bring me up to, that was in 2017, has allowed me, it wasn't that I got it and then I kept it to myself, but to start 100 Shades of Disability, to be able to assist others to get what it is that they need. There are services now that you can get through the VA that they were not doing. But, look, this is what's going to help me to be better in this wheelchair. Since, the Lord has chosen not to heal me out of it, well, you know what? You're going to have to make this a little bit more comfortable, Lord, for me to have to be in it. So, one of the things, if you have power,
Yes.
Again, it is about being bold enough to say, guess what? We are going to change the quality of your life by making decisions that are going to truly assist you. And so I am just so excited. Breon really represents where we need to be. She saw rolling on the road, somebody told her, oh, I met this lady, she is so cool. It was because, oh, they like I wear purple, that's my favorite color. Oh, and she was dressed nice and had on red bottom shoes. And that's not what it was about. But if that's what it took to get your attention, but she made the connection. I got this inbox back in October of 2020. And I'm telling you, I think that she can attest. She was able to come here, okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
When you're able to affect change in
Yes.
somebody's life, and they now have a power that they didn't know that they had inside of them, and they feel bold enough. I mean, when she told me about her experience with MRS, which is the Michigan Rehabilitative Services, that are supposed to help persons with disabilities, the experience that she has been having over the years. And it's like, oh my God, she got to hang out with Pastor Dave and Dr. Kimberly. And it's like, oh, I have a voice. I can actually go in. And we even had someone from MRS who came on the show, and I'm sorry.
Right.
When you know that somebody can come back to you and say, wow, and for her mom to say for 28 years, this is what we had experienced, and you made this connection, and look how your life has changed. And
Yes.
for us to be celebrating 1 year, and even I don't know all of the stories, I don't know all of the people, but I do know this story, that our 1 year, Dave, we have affected change.
Amen.
We've affected change. They asked me to testify. It was March. It was the week before we were shut down for a whole week. I mean, not the whole week, I'm sorry. It was the week before we were shut down for 15 months. And I testified before the Labor and Economic office in Lansing. And I said to them, my name is Dr. Kimberly Barrington. I have a doctoral degree. I was partnered with my Center for Independent Living for the state of Michigan. And I got in their peer support, program, but it was a part of independent living program with the Veterans Administration. And I found how I could live my own self-directed life. I was given a hand up and not a hand out. And I was able to go back, complete my degree, because I graduated the first time with my first doctoral degree in 2017. 3 years, was it? No, actually 4 years from the time that I became a wheelchair user, got the services from, my Center for Independent Living, Disability Advocates of Kent County. And within that time from 2013 to 2017, I was able to finish school and earn my doctoral degree.
Awesome.
I mean, and then 4 years later to earn another, doctoral degree with even more specificity and disability, studies and universal access. And that universal access is not just about building a house or building a building, but universal access to life.
Yes.
And I don't mean to, I got universal access to life as a woman of color, as a person with a disability, being a female veteran, which is such a male-centric, male-dominated system.
Yes.
And yet, again, having the boldness and having worked with disability advocates of Kent County, the fact that I could affect change and improve the quality of life for a Breon Edwards. There is a Breon Edwards everywhere that needs somebody to be bold, and I don't need to be, but to see, to know, and to have a Dr. Sharon Brady Bland that was given an opportunity to earn a degree as a Black woman, for her to earn a doctoral degree, to be of sound body and mind and quote, able body, and put in a position to affect change, that you were bold enough, Dr. Bland-Brady, to take a chance on a Dr. Caldoun. Somebody gave her an opportunity, an African-American woman that stood beside another woman in the face of adversity, being disparaged, spoken ill of by our commander-in-chief of the free world, stood bold, made decisions for more than 10 million people. I know but 10 million people. This is what it looks like when you have power. This is what you do. You affect change. You affect change. Look how many people's lives were saved. Yes, when you're in a war, when you're in a battle, there's gonna be casualties. You're gonna lose people, but look how many people we have saved.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be okay.
I just wanna say, whew, you
Okay.
you don't know how many lives you touch. You really don't. I mean, I'm one of millions. And so I just want to say, I just want to make sure I give due respect and accolades to the team that helped me be as bold and brave and supported me for over 10 months in planning this virtual conference.
Wow.
Alicia Edwards as my right hand co-chair, young Black woman, and so many people there supporting us, my manager who believes in me,
Yes.
who said, yeah, I want you to go on Dr. Kimberly's show. And she was awesome. And we have been getting nothing but emails about the message that you delivered. Because see, they need to hear from our customers and our constituents as to how the system impacts them and how we need to change. You gave them the message on how things, words and titles and different things need to change in order to effectively be able to communicate with people who have a disability. And so, the message that you sent was what you experienced as a person. No one can deliver that unless they are already in a situation like that. So you were able to bring the reality to the forefront. I mean, when I tell you I've never been a part of a conference so intense in my life, of people who never put their computer down. And from the time we turned it on, they was waiting for the next speaker, and they was constantly sending accolades about the message that you deliver. So you got to keep being the vessel that you have been made to be by God.
Yeah.
I'm feeling jealous here since I wasn't invited to the conference. It was for state employees. So maybe you can do it a second time for us general public people.
Okay, so, well, let me just tell you, people freaked out, and I told them, I done did 26 years in this work and pulled off many conferences, but nothing like this one, okay?
Wow.
And there will be a memorable, we went down in history. We went down in history the right way. And I'm just hoping that that you get an opportunity to share some of the information with, your general population of people who view you. And if I can share of any links or anything that might help that I'll work on that for you.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Excellent.
I greatly appreciate it. And, you know, one of the things that came out is, of course, changing the language and, you know, making it diverse ability so that we can assist those persons that are now coming back into the workforce as a long, you know, COVID survivor, what that looks like. And I, I know everybody's gonna say, what? You know, we are at the 4:49 hour. And so, wow. But if you've got the time, we'll go ahead and take the, you know, the liberties for the extra few moments because, well, you know, truth be told, we were trying to stay underneath, you know, the 45 minutes so that it could be on Instagram. But I think that, you know, our audience is bigger than being a big Instagram fan. And so this is some really great, you know, information. And I tell you that YouTube is so much bigger than Instagram. So, you know what? How about we just go ahead and take the liberty and do a full hour show? And you can watch it on YouTube. Watch the replay, like, share, and subscribe. It is on 100 Shades of Disability because this is part of our community partnership and education piece that we do as an organization. And so we can take the liberty, me being the owner, and hey, you know, we got Pastor Dave, who's an executive director. I mean, I think we can take some extra liberties and go another 10 or 15 minutes. And one of the questions that I did pose during the conference was, you know, how are you going to address the new people? Being a part of Social Security, you know, being a part of, you know, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, when someone says, you know, I don't know what's wrong with me, I can't work today, I'm sorry, you know, so if you want a little snippet, you know, I gave the scenario of them. I think the questions, we had some questions, and of the two questions, one was, how do we as managers, as persons in power, or either working with each other, how do we address this issue of disability? And I said, well, you know, this is the reason why it started, was because I read an article on Forbes that said that the pandemic created, and it was written by another doctor who specializes in neuroscience for those persons who have like autism or cerebral palsy, some of the more neurological disabilities that maybe, you know, if you're deaf or hard of hearing, or you may be blind, you're treated differently than someone who has a more visible physical disability. And so, you know, people kind of specialize, and that's her specialty, because persons who are deaf or hard of hearing or blind don't necessarily consider themselves disabled because they can pass.
Wow.
You know, if I'm deaf, which I lost my hearing because I had surgery, and I wear, and if I was not in a wheelchair, I have learned since 2015 when I had the first surgery, and I had the second one in 2017. And then, I mean, once they went on the other side, because the left side was the side that I had my stroke on, it really affected, you know, my hearing in that year. And it was like, okay, I learned how to read lips, you know, because the hearing started going, you know, pretty much with the right, when the right side got done. And when they did the left, it was like, it's like, you know, if you have hearing aids, this is funny. It gives you this little beep, beep warning in your ear. It just goes doo doo. But then when it's about ready, and it'll do it like 2 or 3 times, but when it's ready, it sounds like Pac-Man. When everything shuts off, it goes doo womp womp doo 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 doo. And then for me, it's like when you're watching television and then somebody hits the mute button, you're like, hey, what happened to it? That's how it is for me. When those hearing aids go out, I'm just like, whoa, what just happened here? And so, but I've learned how to read lips. If I wasn't in a wheelchair, nobody would never know that I was disabled, and I could pass, for quote unquote normal, if you will. But it was, how it feels now to be isolated, to not have access to where you eat, where you can go, how you can interact with people. I said, that's what it's like to be disabled.
Okay.
That,
And
that's
just,
what it's like. Mhm.
and you gave them some nuggets to take away, like listen to your employees about, some of the things that they're experiencing. You might not be able to see that disability because if they're a form of depression or,
Yes.
psychotic issues going on or schizophrenia, something like that, you won't be able to like look at the person and know they got you got to be able to communicate with your staff and have an open door policy where they can come and talk to you about anything. These are this your family at work.
Yes. I think I did kind of use that if you were at home, you would figure out,
Right.
how we're gonna work this. If you have a child at home that has autism and
Yeah.
hey, they're on the higher end of the spectrum, but they are still autistic. Those same skills that you learned working with your child or within your family, they are transferable
Yes.
to work as a leader, as a person in power, as a manager, as a human resource, manager. Think
Right.
about those things and transfer it into the workplace was, one of the nuggets I gave them. The other was I had been to the Detroit Music Hall a week prior to me speaking. And the first thing they said, how long has the Detroit Music Hall been standing? It's one of those neighborhood staples. It's a staple in the African-American community, where the first part of the event was held in the Aretha Franklin Jazz Cafe. So it's like, wow. I mean, this is something that's steeped in great history. However, it is not accessible. And there are 2 sets of stairs. And the first thing they said to me was, well, you know what, you could just sit up in the lobby. We'll open up a curtain. And if we move you a little bit to the left, you can look all the way down and kind of see what's going on. And then you'll be able to hear it. Okay, this is a ticketed event. It was $50. And do you think I want to sit out here in the doorway at the top it's in the entranceway up into the music hall, that I don't want to sit up here for an event? And
Right.
then they were like, well, then the next thing was, well, how about you just get out of your chair and walk down and then we'll help you with that. And I said, but my wheelchair is the way that I walk.
Right.
They were like, what? But to show the picture.
Yes.
And so Dr. Bland, put the picture up, we put that as part of, the speak. And it was for people to see a picture. And it's like, wow, we're asking her to get out and walk. But how many times have we done that on our jobs? Ask somebody to do something that they're not capable of, but they have a way that allows them to engage into work, into life, that gives them a quality of life. And we take that away from them by saying, well, stop being blind, stop, just, can't you just open up your eyes and just see, can't you just unstop your ears and just hear us? You know what I mean? Can you stop, your brain from not working? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't change the fact that I had a bleed on the brain, and that's what caused it. I can't change the fact that I had a tumor, had to have 5 head surgeries. I can't change the fact that, oh, you know what? I had cancer, and so I had to have, surgery. And these are the effects of having experienced, those, if you want to call them a life tragedy. I do not. But now I have to figure out how I'm going to engage back in life now that, as some would say, oh, you got dealt a bad hand. And for you to continue or to perpetuate that bad hand that you feel that I have been dealt.
Yeah, that brings me into the disability piece and how we look at mental condition in comparison to a physical. We look at them separately, and we request medical records from all medical sources, and we look at what a person is able to do based on the definition of disability or Social Security disability. So, it's a challenge, but we apply this same diversity, equity, inclusion to this casework as well. Make sure we're treating people with dignity and respect, and giving them an opportunity to share their story and to send their information in, to make sure that we have received all the information to give them a fair shake in their claims, right? So all of diversity, equity, inclusion is embedded in everything that we do, from our personal to our professional lives. And so, people look at diversity as an activity or something to just do for the moment. It's just a thought that's passing through a moment in time. This is a journey, and it's been a journey since the test of time. So, and all we're trying to do is make a better one, make this journey better, the more inclusive, more understanding, more just respecting everyone. It doesn't matter who it is. You don't know who you're talking to.
Right.
I don't care if it's the person who is the maintenance person that cleans up the building to the CEO. Everybody gets dignity and respect, and they deserve that. And that's our role, and that's our job. And that's why we had to come to our event, and so that you can share with people your experience, and that they can have the heart to be able to develop empathy. Because the goal is to change people's heart, right? And that's what we're trying to do. And then the more that people share their story with others, the more impact we're going to have on changing hearts. Because if we don't change people's heart about how they treat people and how, you cannot judge a book by its cover.
Right.
You have to give everyone the ample opportunity to share with you. I mean, you can't get that out of a person if you're disrespecting them. If you always pausing them, if you always putting the hand up and they can never stop saying anything, respecting a person, you find out so much about people and where they come from.
Yeah.
You just take the time to listen and hear them.
Yeah. I think that your words are a great way. If I had to say, can you give us some final words? I think that would be it. Pastor Dave, do you have any?
Thank you. And those are awesome words to reflect on this weekend. We talk about independence this weekend as a nation, and where do we have to go as a nation to honor each other's independence and ability to live self-directed lives and full lives in our community, and what barriers am I putting in front of people? So celebrate, at the same time, reflect, folks, this weekend. So thank you so much, Dr. Brady Bland, for being with us. I look forward to having you back. Because like I said, we could have a telethon with picking your brain on the things you know. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And my final words is to say, keep being aware of what you can do to change any barrier that's getting in people's way so that they can't progress in this lifetime, and just embrace them, give them the space and room so they can grow, try to inspire them in any kind of way that you can, and just keep being your authentic self, because that's what people see. That's what I've learned to be. And just learning all of this from my mother, who had 9 children and went to college and finished college and was a woman before her time. She's my hero. And so those are my words: share, love, care. You can't go wrong.
No.
Thank you.
So I will give to you what I gave to more than 984 employees, a part of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, who attended the leadership conference on was it June 23rd.
Yes.
I believe that inclusion, accessibility, and diversity are synonymous at the core of their intent and meaning. Diversity is the practice of inclusion, giving accessibility for all to be included. Because when you agree to make decisions based on the most excluded, you have included everyone. And that is a direct quote from myself, Dr. Kimberly Barrington, as part of my lived experience over the last 8 years as someone who acquired a physical disability, but by mere definition, the word disability means to not have, not to be included, a disadvantage. And I was born, quote unquote, disabled because I was born Black and I was born a female. And I want to say thank you so much for our listening audience. Thank you that from on July 5th to December 31, you told us, by viewing more than 31,000 times and us reaching more than 49,133 people, that what we do is worth doing. So we look forward to another year of doing what it is, and hopefully, you know, many more years to come of doing what it is that we do. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great and safe weekend. And we will see you on next week. And you have been with Rolling on the Road.
Oh, bye-bye. Thank you.